Look at your hands for a moment. Really look at them. These hands of yours, they've written countless messages, wiped away tears, maybe held your children, definitely held your dreams. But let me ask you something deeper. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and truly liked who you saw? Not just your appearance, no. I'm talking about the person you've become, the one who stares back at you every morning, the one who knows your deepest thoughts, your biggest fears, and yes, those dreams you've been putting off. You see, most people spend their whole lives running away from themselves when they should be running toward their best self. They wake up each morning, look in that mirror, and what do? They start listing all the things they don't like, all the things they wish were different, all the things they'll get to someday. But here's what's funny about someday. It never comes unless you make it come. I've been around long enough to know something crucial. We all have two lives. The one we're living right now and the one we could be living if we just had the courage to face that mirror, to face ourselves, and to make those changes we know we need to make. The life we could have if we stopped letting those 7 behaviors, those 7 dream killers, run our lives. Let me paint you a picture, and I want you to really see this in your mind. Imagine 2 paths stretching out in front of you. The first path, it's comfortable, it's familiar, it's what you've always done. But that comfort, it's like quicksand. The more comfortable you get, the deeper you sink until one day you realize you can't get out. That's what happens when you let these 7 behaviors control your life. Now, the second path, it's not as smooth. It's got some rocks, some steep climbs, maybe even a few moments where you'll have to crawl. But here's what I know for sure. Every single day, you're either growing or you're dying. There's no in between. The choices you make today, they're building tomorrow's you. Those 7 behaviors we're going to talk about, they're like silent killers of dreams. They sneak up on you, make themselves comfortable in your life, until one day you wake up wondering where all your potential went. Think about that for a minute. Really let it sink in. Every time you make an excuse, every time you put something off, every time you let fear win, you're not just affecting today. You're writing the story of your future. You're deciding right now who you're going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And those 7 behaviors, they're like weights around your ankles, holding you back from becoming everything you were meant to be. The stakes couldn't be higher. Because this isn't just about success or failure. It's about living versus existing. It's about waking up every morning with purpose versus dragging yourself through another day. It's about looking back on your life with pride versus regret. And trust me, I've seen both sides. I've seen people let these behaviors destroy their dreams, and I've seen others break free and soar higher than they ever imagined possible. Let me tell you about someone I knew growing up in Mount Vernon. We'll call him Marcus. Now, Marcus wasn't just another face in the crowd. This young man had something special. You could see it in his eyes. That spark, that fire that said, I'm meant for something bigger. He was smart, talented, had everything going for him. The kind of person everyone looked at and thought, yeah, he's going places. Marcus was the star basketball player in high school, got straight A's without even trying, had that natural charm that made everyone want to be his friend. He was the kind of person who could walk into a room and light it up just by being there. But here's the thing about talent and potential. They're like raw ingredients. Just having them doesn't guarantee you'll make a great meal. See, Marcus started letting these exact behaviors we're talking about today creep into his life. At first, it was small things. He'd make excuses about why he couldn't study for his SATs. I'm already smart enough, he'd say. I'll get around to it next week. Then he started comparing himself to others who seemed to be doing better with less effort. That comparison turned into doubt. And that doubt, it started eating away at his confidence. Before long, Marcus was living entirely in his past glory. Every conversation started with, "Remember when I scored those winning points?" Or, "Remember when I was going to?" Always, "Remember when?" Never, "What's next?" He was so busy looking back at who he used to be that he couldn't see who he was becoming. His potential, all that raw talent, was slipping away. One excuse, one delayed decision, one missed opportunity at a time. But here's where Marcus's story takes a turn. One day he saw something that shook him to his core. He ran into his old middle school teacher at the grocery store. This teacher had always believed in him, always pushed him to be better. And when she asked him what he was doing with his life, Marcus couldn't find a single thing to be proud of. That moment, right there in aisle 7, between the cereal and the canned goods, became his wake-up call. Marcus realized he had a choice to make. He could keep letting these behaviors rule his life, keep making excuses, keep living in yesterday, or he could decide that enough was enough. And let me tell you something. When Marcus made that decision to change, to really change, it wasn't easy. He had to face some hard truths about himself, had to admit that he'd been his own worst enemy, had to acknowledge that all those excuses he'd been making were just fear wearing a fancy mask. But day by day, step by step, Marcus started eliminating these behaviors from his life. Instead of making excuses, he started making plans. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, he started taking imperfect action. Instead of living in yesterday's glory, he started building tomorrow's success. It wasn't overnight. Change never is. But gradually, that spark in his eyes came back. That fire started burning again. Today, Marcus owns 3 successful businesses. He mentors young people in our old neighborhood, showing them how to avoid the same traps that almost got him. He's not just successful, he's fulfilled. And you know what he tells everyone? He says the hardest part wasn't learning new things or developing new skills. The hardest part was unlearning those behaviors that had kept him stuck for so long. Marcus's story isn't unique. In fact, right now, in this room, there are probably several Marcuses. People with incredible potential, amazing gifts, big dreams, but they're letting these same behaviors hold them back. The only difference is you're here now. You're about to learn about these 7 dream-killing behaviors before they take too much from you. You're getting the wake-up call before you need that grocery store moment. That's why we need to talk about these behaviors. That's why understanding them, recognizing them, and eliminating them from your life isn't just important, it's crucial. Because just like Marcus, you've got greatness inside you. You've got dreams that deserve to be chased. You've got potential that's waiting to be unleashed. But first, we've got to get these behaviors out of your way. Let's talk about these first 3 behaviors that hold so many people back. And I want you to listen carefully, because chances are you're going to recognize yourself in at least one of these. That recognition, that's not meant to shame you. It's meant to wake you up. You know what's interesting about excuses? They always sound so reasonable in our heads. I'm too tired. I'm not ready. The timing isn't right. I don't have enough money. I don't have the right connections. These excuses, they're like a warm blanket on a cold morning. They feel comfortable. They feel safe. But they're keeping you in bed when you should be out there chasing your dreams. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Your excuses might sound good to your ears, but they won't pay your bills. They won't build your dreams. They won't create your legacy. Every time you make an excuse, you're selling your future self short. You're trading what could be for what's comfortable right now. Think about it. How many times have you said, "I'll start on Monday"? How many Mondays have come and gone? Every excuse you make is like writing an IOU to your dreams. But here's the thing about those IOUs. They collect interest. The longer you wait, the more it costs you in terms of opportunities lost, growth delayed, and potential wasted. I see people all the time who say they want to start a business, write a book, go back to school, lose weight, repair relationships, but they've got an excuse for why they can't start today. And you know what? Some of those excuses sound really good. They sound logical. They sound responsible. But at the end of the day, an excuse, no matter how good it sounds, is still just an excuse. Now, this one's tricky because it masquerades as wisdom. I'm just waiting for the right time. I need all my ducks in a row first. Once everything lines up perfectly, then I'll make my move. Let me tell you something that might shock you. Perfect timing is a myth. It's a fairy tale we tell ourselves to justify our fear of starting. The truth, the perfect time is like tomorrow. It never arrives. While you're waiting for all the stars to align, someone else is out there stumbling forward, making mistakes, learning, growing, and guess what? They're getting closer to their dreams while you're still standing at the starting line, waiting for a signal that's never going to come. You want to know something? I've never met a successful person who said, "Yep, I started at exactly the right time when everything was perfect." Instead, they all say some version of the same thing. I started before I was ready. I started when I was scared. I started when it wasn't perfect. Because here's the real truth. The right time isn't when everything is perfect. The right time is when you decide to begin. Think about learning to walk when you were a baby. Did you wait until you were sure you wouldn't fall? Of course not. You fell hundreds of times. But each time you fell, you learned something. Each time you got back up, you got stronger. That's how life works. That's how success works. The perfect time isn't about the conditions around you. It's about the decision within you. This third behavior might be the most dangerous of all because it feels like gratitude, like appreciation for what was. But living in yesterday, constantly looking back at what was or what could have been, is like trying to drive forward while staring in the rearview mirror. You're going to crash. Yesterday ended last night. Your past is like a rearview mirror. Glance at it occasionally for perspective, but stare at it too long, and you're going to miss the opportunities right in front of you. I see so many people trapped by their past, either their past successes or their past failures. Some are still talking about that championship game they won in high school, that business deal they almost closed, that relationship that almost worked out. But here's what I want you to understand. Your past is not your potential. Your past is not your destiny. Whether you had great successes or terrible failures, whether you made all the right moves or all the wrong ones, that was yesterday. And yesterday's gone. You can't change it, you can't relive it, and you certainly can't let it define your tomorrow. I've seen people let their past failures convince them they're not worthy of success. I've seen others let their past successes make them complacent, thinking they don't need to keep growing, keep pushing, keep evolving. Both are traps. Both will keep you stuck. Your life is not a movie that you can rewind. It's not a book where you can reread your favorite chapter over and over. It's happening right now, in real time. And every moment you spend living in yesterday is a moment you're not using to build tomorrow. Now, this is where it gets real. This is where we move from understanding to action. I want you to think about these first 3 behaviors we just discussed. Think about them honestly. Think about them deeply. Which one hits closest to home? Which one made you shift in your seat a little bit? Which one made you think, yeah, that's me? Don't just think about it, feel it. Feel the weight of how these behaviors have been holding you back. Feel the cost of the opportunities missed, the dreams delayed, the potential unrealized. But more importantly, feel the possibility of what could happen when you finally break free from these behaviors. You see, recognition is the first step toward change. You can't fix what you won't face. You can't change what you won't acknowledge. That's why I want you to turn to the person next to you right now. Look them in the eye and share. Which of these first 3 behaviors has been your biggest stumbling block? When you speak it out loud, something powerful happens. When you name it, you begin to take away its power over you. When you share it with another person, you make yourself accountable. You turn that private recognition into a public commitment to change. And as you share, listen to the person next to you. Really listen. Because here's something amazing you're going to discover. You're not alone in this. Every single person in this room is fighting their own battle with these behaviors. Every single person has made excuses, waited for perfect timing, or lived too long in yesterday. But here's the difference. Now you know better. Now you can do better. Now you can make the choice to change. Because that's what this is all about. Making choices. Choosing to stop making excuses and start making progress. Choosing to stop waiting for the perfect time and start taking imperfect action. Choosing to stop living in yesterday and start building tomorrow. Let's talk about something that hits close to home for many of us: self-doubt. You were born an original, but too many of you are living like copies. You doubt your worth, question your abilities, and wonder if you're good enough. Let me tell you something straight. That voice of doubt in your head, it's lying to you. Your uniqueness is your power. Every experience you've had, every struggle you've overcome, every lesson you've learned, they've all come together to make you who you are. But when you doubt your worth, you discount all of that. You take this masterpiece that is you and try to hide it away because someone, somewhere, made you believe you weren't enough. I see people every day who have incredible gifts, amazing ideas, powerful stories to tell, but they keep them locked away because they're doubting their worth. They look at others who are doing what they dream of doing and think, who am I to try that? Let me turn that around. Who are you not to? Who are you not to share your gifts? Who are you not to pursue your dreams? Who are you not to make your mark on this world? Your worth isn't determined by your bank account, your job title, your social media followers, or anyone else's opinion. Your worth is inherent. It's built into who you are. The only question is whether you're going to believe it and act like it. Here's a truth that might sting a little. If you're comfortable, you're not growing. Growth lives outside your comfort zone. It lives in those moments that make you nervous, those situations that make you uncertain, those challenges that make you question if you can really do it. But what do most people do when faced with discomfort? They run from it. They avoid it. They create elaborate systems and routines to stay safely within their comfort zone. And you know what? That comfort zone feels good for a while. It feels safe. It feels secure. But that comfort is an illusion, because if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Think about working out. The muscle doesn't grow when you're comfortable. It grows when you push past comfort, when you feel that burn, when you do one more rep, even though your arms are shaking. Your life works the same way. Your capacity for success, for achievement, for impact, it all grows when you push past your comfort zone. I'm not talking about being reckless. I'm talking about being courageous. There's a difference between discomfort and danger. Discomfort is giving a presentation when public speaking makes you nervous. Discomfort is applying for that job, even though you don't meet all the qualifications. Discomfort is sharing your ideas, even when you're not sure how they'll be received. In this age of social media, this behavior has become more dangerous than ever. You're scrolling through your phone, seeing everyone's highlight reels, and comparing it to your behind-the-scenes footage. Let me tell you something. Run your own race. The only person you should try to beat is the person you were yesterday. When you're busy comparing yourself to others, you're not focusing on your own growth. You're not appreciating your own progress. You're not celebrating your own victories. Instead, you're letting other people's journeys distract you from your own path. Remember this: no one else has your specific combination of talents, experiences, and dreams. No one else can tell your story the way you can. No one else can make your unique contribution to the world. So why are you trying to follow someone else's path? Here's the last behavior, and it's a sneaky one. People often think success comes from big leaps, dramatic changes, and sudden breakthroughs. But let me tell you the truth. Big dreams need small actions. Consistency beats intensity every time. You want to write a book? Start with 1 page a day. You want to build a business? Start with 1 customer. You want to transform your health? Start with 1 healthy meal, 1 workout, 1 good night's sleep. These small steps might not feel significant in the moment, but they add up to create massive change over time. The problem is, we often neglect these small steps because they don't feel important enough. We're waiting for the big moment, the perfect opportunity, the chance to make a giant leap forward. But life doesn't work that way. Success doesn't work that way. It's the small steps, taken consistently, that lead to big changes. Now here's what you're going to do tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. You're going to take out a piece of paper and you're going to write down these 7 behaviors. Then you're going to circle the one that's holding you back the most. Be honest with yourself. This isn't about judgment, it's about growth. Next, you're going to create 3 specific actions to eliminate that behavior. Not vague intentions, specific, concrete actions. If you're making excuses, your action might be to write down every excuse you make for a week. If you're avoiding discomfort, your action might be to do 1 thing that scares you each day. Finally, you're going to share your commitment with someone who will hold you accountable. Because when we keep our commitments private, they're easier to break. But when we share them, when we make them public, we're more likely to follow through. Listen to me carefully, because this is important. Your life is happening right now, not tomorrow, not next year, right now. These 7 behaviors, They're not your destiny unless you let them be. They're not your future unless you choose them to be. Fall forward, fail forward, but whatever you do, move forward. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to just exist. You want to live. You want to thrive. And starting right here, right now, that's exactly what you're going to do. Remember, the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. The future belongs to those who are willing to face these behaviors head on and say, not anymore. The future belongs to those who understand that change isn't easy, but it's worth it. You have everything you need right now to start making these changes. You have the awareness, you have the understanding, and most importantly, you have the choice. Choose to stop making excuses. Choose to stop waiting for perfect timing. Choose to stop living in yesterday. Choose to believe in your worth. Choose to embrace discomfort. Choose to run your own race. Choose to take those small steps. Because when you make these choices, when you eliminate these behaviors, you don't just change your actions, you change your life. And that change, that transformation, it starts right now, in this moment, with your decision to be better than you were yesterday. God bless you. And remember, your potential is calling. Will you answer?